Vynnset is poised to be the breakout deck of the new format and of the new Dusk Till Dawn set, and it's all because of this specific combo. I'm going to explain why I think this combo gives Vynnset the power to push into the meta and make a lot of people very scared. And if you want to build this combo by picking up the cards, head on over to MinMax Games. MinMax Games does fantastic work in the Flesh and Blood community. You can buy single cards there, you can buy sealed product there, you can pick up all your needs for Dusk Till Dawn there. I highly recommend it. So let's talk about the combo. I'll throw it up on the screen and explain how this functions. To explain the combo, let's first take a look at Rules Reprise number 14, the Light Rules Reprise. And if you go all the way down to the bottom where it says what happens if you play an action card as an instant with an Eloquence token, this spells out the combo. An Eloquence token, by the way, is an aura that sits in the field that you create that says when you play a non-attack action card, destroy the Eloquence token, and this card gets go again. But what happens if you play a non-attack as an instant or at instant speed? Well, anything that you would normally expect would happen. You'd destroy the Eloquence token, and that instant speed non-attack action card would gain go again. So if it already had go again, it's basically pointless. If it doesn't have go again, well, it gains go again. That could be pretty useful. But it gets even better than that, because when you are destroying the Eloquence token, you can, at instant speed, respond to that destruction. It is a trigger that you can respond to, and because the Eloquence token is worded in such a way that it says when you play a non-attack action card, not the next non-attack action card you play, it's just whenever you play a non-attack action card, you can, before this thing destroys itself, in the trigger of destruction, play an instant speed non-attack action card again to give go again. So what does this mean? You can actually get go again multiple times off of a single Eloquence token if you can respond to its destruction at instant speed with a non-attack action card. So there are ways to do that multiple times, and Vynnset can do that up to 6 times on a single turn. How do you go about gaining that many action points? Well, it's off of cards such as Funeral Moon and Requiem for the Damned. These are both cards that can be played at instant speed if your hero has lost health on that turn, or if your opponent has lost health on a turn. So we start by making the Eloquence token. We pay 1, we create an Eloquence token off of the Grimoire of the Haunt. After that, you then play any non-attack action card that you would like to give go again. For example, Read the Runes is fantastic. I love Read the Runes in this place because you can play this and then respond to the destruction of the Eloquence token to play any of these at instant speed. The only stipulation being that you would have had to have dealt damage to your opponent or to yourself. And again, there's ways to do that to yourself as well if you play something like Envelop in Darkness, because Vynnset allows you, when you play a Shadow Runeblade action, to take 1 point of damage and then force the next rune chant through, right, off of her effect, off of her ability. So this would look like something like Envelop in Darkness, pay the life, and then pop the Grimoire, and then any of these Funeral Moons you either have in hand or in the banished zone immediately become action points along with their effective cost or their effect that they have on their card. So this would gain you a rune chant, but it would also give you an action point because you're responding to the destruction. How can you abuse this? Well, you can play big things and keep playing big things and keep playing big things, like for example Deathly Wail, because if you take damage and your opponent takes any rune chant or physical attack damage, this Deathly Wail comes across for a 6. For example, this red one comes across for 6. You can then close the combat chain, generate 2 rune chants because you took damage and your opponent takes damage. In generating 2 rune chants, you could play any of your rune gate effects that cost 2. So for example, Widespread Ruin costs 2, and you can rune gate it out thanks to the rune chants off of Deathly Wail. And at instant speed, if you want to gain more action points, but also more rune chants, you can play that on the back end. So you can generate more rune chants by playing Funeral Moon instant speed to gain those action points, and then you can follow it up with anything like Deathly Delight, another 2 cost that you can rune gate from the banished zone that you can store up. So essentially, what we can do on any given turn where we build up the necessary pieces, we can go 3 attacks, 4 attacks wide, and all of those attacks are things like 6 attack with Rune Chance Chasers. All right, so here's an example of what this could look like on a smaller-ish scale, because we've played here to turn number 7. We've blocked a lot. We've stored up cards into our Blood Debt banished zone area. Here's what we've got on our banished zone. So we do have 3 attacks that we could possibly chain together, and we do have Funeral Moon. Now, we could start off our turn by playing Envelop in Darkness and pitching this Deathly Wail, and then we pay the life for Vynnset. And in paying the life, that's going to enable our next kind of play overall. So first we pop Grimoire of the Haunt, and we're going to play Tome of Fjendal from Arsenal, paying the last resource that we have. And then after this triggers, at this moment we would be able to play Funeral Moon, and this should gain us an action point. Now again, if this is not hard-coded into Talishar, then it's not a great overall functional expression of how this would look, but this functions based on the rules that you read. You would gain an action point from both of those triggers, and it turns out we drew into a Shadow Puppetry and a Funeral Moon, a second copy of Funeral Moon. Now you could even go further than that, and you could actually stack up even more overall things that you could play, but currently this would allow you to have 2 action points. You'd be sitting at 2 action points at this exact moment. So in doing that, what can we do with 2 action points? Well, we technically can go Shadow Puppetry, not having to pay the life anymore, to follow this overall with Deathly Wail. And we're sending over a bunch of Rune Chants, because again, we played a little passively, and we blocked, and we just dropped things into our banished zone. If they take any of this already has go again from the Shadow Puppetry. If they take any of this, then I could banish off the top. But they also took any Rune Chant damage, incidental Rune Chant damage. It enables the second generation of the Rune Chant off of Deathly Wail. Let's just assume that they, don't worry about it. We could banish Snatch. Look at that. We were so close to actually drawing into a Snatch, which is kind of funny. It, by the way, could be a good card in this whole matchup. Now, we close the combat chain so that we gain 2 resources here. And this is where that second action point overall would come into play, because one of them could get used here on Deathly Delight. With our 2 Rune Chants we just generated, we went 3 that generated us 2 Rune Chants into 2 that doesn't generate us any Rune Chants, and then that takes, maybe they take some damage there. Then we can push Bounding Demagon for free, and this pushes for 4 overall, which is quite powerful, and we could even, at the end of this turn, play this, gaining a Rune Chant to sit on at the end of the turn, which is quite good, and then it allows us to Arsenal as well. Things get even crazier with this combo if you include Revel and Runeblood on a specific hand. Like if we had played Tome of Fjendal into a Revel and Runeblood, then you're able to play like the 4-cost Widespread Annihilation from your Banished Zone as well, and stack that on there as well. And things get even easier to put together when you include some number of Mauvrian Skies. So let's break down how the deck is constructed currently, and I'm sure this is of course day 0, and so I'm sure there's people that are going to be taking this, molding it, shaping it, but forming it into a very formidable combo deck. Oh, hey there, it's future me editing this video. I was editing this video and I took a break and I went to YouTube and I saw that Savage Lands News actually put a really good breakdown of this overall combo on their channel. So if you want to go check that out, I'll put a link down in the comments, because I do recommend a full and complete explanation of how this functions. So shout out to Savage Lands News, that's a tongue twister, for the awesome video that beat this to the punch. Well done. So for those that are curious, I have been madly building just over and over and over again Vynnset decks of all shapes and sizes. If I click this and just show you, literally I've been building Vynnset decks and Prism decks over and over and over again. And if you would like copies of my decks, I put them on my Patreon. So if you would like both a copy of the deck and the sideboard guide that I put in there so that you can queue this up on like Talishar and just press the sideboard button, feel free to become a patron above, because patrons do get access to that as I build them out and put the sideboard guides together so that it's easy to pick up and play if you're playing on Talishar to test before you buy it in paper. So like I said, I've built Go Wide, Go Tall. I've built strange versions of the deck, But this is one of the versions that I've been toying around with, is this specific combo, and it usually involves all 9 Deathly Whales, all copies of Funeral Moon, and then right now I'm toying around with dropping the number of Mavrian Skies from 9 to maybe 6, so shaving 1 off of each, or leaving reds and yellows but shaving off the blue. I teeter between 2 and 3 Revel and Runebloods, because on the combo turn it can do really good things for you and allow you to kind of play one of these other ones. Also, you can Boots It Out at instant speed to gain even another action point. Runeblood Incantation is great for building up the rune chance to play Deathly Whale on that turn. Shadow Puppetry is super necessary as a 3 of. Some number of the 2-drop Phantom Wraiths. In this version, I was like toying around with running 2 reds because the red count is really high, and several blues, so that if we wanted to pivot into a style with Nebula Blade, we could do that. Also, if you wanted to, have a lot of blues so that you could feel good into wizard matchups, then you have that capability as well. Widespread Ruin feels good. And then we come to Deathly Delights. In this version of the deck, I have yellows. In the next sort of step up, which I believe is this one, I think I have reds and yellows. No, maybe I don't. Maybe it's in the new one that I have reds and yellows. Yeah, they do. There they are. They're in the sideboard. Reds and yellows as well, because having more 2-cost rune gates makes that combo easier. And, it doesn't really matter which one you teeter and totter between, because I don't think this is like finalized good, but I am going to put this up on Patreon so that you can grab this and mess around with it. I think some number of Read the Runes, I personally have really liked, upping that number of Read the Runes to like higher levels. Let's go to the this second version. Like reds and yellows feels really good, because being able to use them as the action point starter basically for Grimoire means that you can gain an action point off this, and then gain any number of action points off of any number of Funeral Moons. I am teetering between 1 and 0 copies of Requiem for the Damned, but this can go into your banish zone and sit there and wait and help you store up action points just like this would. This has more utility because it builds you a rune chant. This one has a little less because you've already used the Eloquence token at that point, but you gain more value out of it if you're running Tome of Fjendal, which I have in the 3rd version of this deck. The rest of this is filled out with conventional rune gate attacks, and some of those I think need to get pulled out in favor of other cards, like Spellblade Assault, which just generates you 2 rune chants, though it does cost 2. So again, your curve up here on the blues has to be high enough to support that, which is why in my latest version, I'm rebuilding this again. I'm looking at things like Snatch, because you can give it an action point and give it go again essentially. Things like Snatch, things like Tome of Fjendal. And I'm filling in Rift Binds as well, because I feel like if we are on a combo turn, if we're playing, Funeral Moon, Funeral Moon, Funeral Moon to gain action points, that's 3 non-attacks that have been played. That gives this +3 in addition to the go again. So just by playing Rift Bind for 1 and this combo to any number of Funeral Moons, this is going for 5, possibly even 6 on like really crazy bomb turns. I think Envelop in Darkness is the other just key card, because this is how you pay the 1 life so that you can trigger the instant speed effect on this. And it allows you not to have as many Mavrian Skies to start off your combo with Deathly Whale. It allows you to have less because you're able to pay the life, and this is immediately instant speed, so that you can set up the combo first, where you go Envelop in Darkness, pay the life, then do all the action point generation, then start the Deathly Whale combo. So this is the deck that I'm currently working through and working on the composition, and this is one of those things that does feel a little bit more rough draft like, but I think the power level is there, and this really feels incredibly technical, incredibly like high skill currently, and the ceiling for the damage pushes upwards of like 33, 35 damage on one of those combo turns. And if you're playing this back and forth game where you deal 6 and 2 rune chants and they deal you some damage and you block, and then you deal like 5 and some rune chants and they block, if you have them in that range, they have to respect a combo like this. And that's what I'm really interested to see going into this new meta. So let me know what you think about this deck idea in a comment below. I want to hear from you what you think of Vynnset in general, where you're taking her currently. Are you going playing the more conventional RuneGate? I say conventional, it's just like brand new. The more RuneGate strategy, are you trying to like go wide and do Art of Wars with Snatch and things like that? Are you playing Rosetta Thorn and dropping Flail? Are you playing the Scepter that deals like a Point of Arcane? I want to hear what you think in a comment below. And if you want a copy of all this stuff, feel free to become a patron. Also, thanks for pressing the button. Hey, we're going to celebrate next week. It's going to be a blast. We're going to hop on stream and give some stuff away. So if you want to be part of that, head down into the comments below or into the description of this video and add your name into the hat, and it could be drawn out on the day of the celebration. As always, thanks for watching.